Hi everyone, welcome to Showtime Talk. I'm your host Tomoya. On this channel, I invite experts and guests to talk about baseball. Today I have Jeff Fletcher, the Angels beat writer for the Orange County Register, to talk about Shohei Ohtani and other major league news. So let's get started. Now let's talk about the draft, this year's draft. How unusual is it that the Angels selected only pitchers in this year's draft?
Well, it's very unusual. It had never happened before. There wasn't really opportunity for it to happen before because the draft used to be 40 rounds or more. So you obviously would not have drafted all pitchers in the 40-round draft. In the 2020 draft, it was only 5 rounds, and the Marlins actually only drafted pitchers, but that was a little different. The Angels obviously need pitching in their system as a whole, not just in the major leagues. So focus on pitching was to be expected. I think the fact that they drafted all 20 instead of maybe, 17 like some other teams did, it was a little bit surprising, but I don't think it makes a huge difference. If they would have drafted 17 pitchers and 3 position players versus 20 pitchers, I don't think it makes a big difference.
Why was the number of players being drafted reduced from 40 to 20?
It's basically part of Major League Baseball, I think, trying to streamline the minor leagues, which is ultimately to save money, really. Teams used to have like 7 minor league teams, and now everybody's got 4.5. So there's a lot less need to have minor league players. So you don't really need to have as many rounds of the draft.
Why were 19 out of 20 players the Angels drafted college players?
Like I said, they needed to add pitching to their farm system. And if you just draft a lot of high school pitchers, those guys are all going to go in at the bottom. So you're really not going to fill the higher levels. When you draft college pitchers, you have a chance to maybe some of them start right away at AA, or some of them at high A, and it kind of fills the system in more evenly instead of just flooding them all at the bottom.
Do you think the Angels made a right move?
I guess we'll find out. I don't think anybody would have been talking about this if they'd have drafted 18 pitchers and 2 position players. Nobody would be making a big deal about it, but it essentially would have been the same thing. So I think that it's, we'll find out over the next few years how much help they get in the pitching department from this draft.
What's the latest trend in the draft? Or like what kind of players they draft, like more college players or high school players? Anything that stands out to you the most?
It changes every year. I don't think in long-term things change really a lot. I think that everybody wants to get the best available players, and it just depends on what talent is available in a particular year.
Has analytics affected the way the teams look at players in terms of, young player prospects and like high school players?
I mean, yeah, there's much more analytics available now on amateur players than there were 10 years ago. I mean, now they play in these showcase events where they have TrackMan data on them, and some college programs have a lot of TrackMan data, so you can see, things like exit velocity and spin rates for pitchers and that kind of thing. What's interesting is even though they have all this extra data that they didn't have, I'm not sure it's really made them any more accurate in forecasting. So, they have a lot more information, but I'm not sure it's really making a difference.
What does this say about the sport of baseball, that it's so hard to predict, even with so much data?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just, they're dealing with human beings to begin with, like every sport, and baseball is a sport with a really fine line between success and failure. And, for a team, you've got 25, 26 guys. So there's really, you need a bunch of guys to be on the right side of that success line to have a good team. And, I think that it's just difficult to forecast any of that.
How do major league teams look at Japan as a source of talent?
They all have scouts, and they all keep their eyes on Japan. And certainly they don't have the same opportunity to get those players. They're not subject to the draft. And any players who are already playing in NPB, they have to deal with their current team to get them. So there's a much different process for it. But if there are players over there that major league teams think can help them, they're certainly interested in trying to get them over here.